Well, good morning, everybody. This is Jeff Gilder along with Jessica Link. We're here today to kind of touch base on the value of micronutrients and really talk about, that written program, really being your formula for success as we look into the future. So harvest is really started in some areas, or it's just around the corner and going to be starting soon in most. It's a great time of the year, a season for getting some combine rides in, fall fertilizer applications, and really a time to take that effort to start to evaluate your grower programs, for 2023 and moving into 2024. So what this really leads into is the value of starting planning for 2024, and how to build a written program as that formula for success. When we take a look at that value of pre-planning, it can really affect the success of your location in a few different ways. The first one is having the ability to take advantage of fall fill programs, early order programs, whether that be on your chemistry, on your seed, or especially on your fertility programs. Grower prepays, even though it's just September today, these things are really around the corner and seem to come a lot earlier every year. It should give you an opportunity, though, to be able to capture some early season margin when you take advantage of those fill programs. Or the second one there is when we have a written program with a grower, or when you have a written program with your grower, the ability to build in products into their budgets. They tend to follow through on these applications when they're part of a written plan and part of their budget, making a recommendation, that's in season, late June, first part of July, when those dollars aren't budgeted for that application is really a hard sell. This could not only be with your fertility programs, but it could be, with like some fungicide applications late season. When you've got those things planned, those things tend to happen, and your program really just rolls into those. Laying out your plan, kind of that in-season decision-making part, but if you've got a plan with a grower that's for their success, and you've built this thing in the off season, it's a great tool. A great opportunity that we're going to go through today is to take a look at those high yield programs, and remember to focus on your growers' goals and their success. As Jessica and I are going to take a look at corn and soybean planning for 2024, both on the starter side and on the foliar programs. We're going to review our high yield solutions, or kind of that full season approach that we like to talk about. And remember, our recommendations are going to be based on growth stages and those yield determining times for each crop. Our high yield program, or a high yield solution for corn, is a good, better, best approach. You can think of this in terms of fields, growers, farms, or even crops. It's the ability to improve the plan for that whole farm success. And where we're going to start, and where we always like to start, is either with that post-harvest or that pre-plant timing and the value that we see with a crop residue breakdown with a product like BioReverse. So 3 things to consider in that residue management side. The first one, especially on the infield part of that, is really warmer soil temps, better seed to soil contact, and the big one is going to be releasing nutrients from that pith of the stalk, and that's where we're going to get our nutrient cycling from. The second part there is really reducing the wear and tear on your equipment. This could be your row openers. This could be your tires. When we're working through that stalk, and and you got a lot of residue buildup there, that really does wear down equipment a lot faster, especially on the tire side. And the third one is really looking at that return on investment from your improved yield potential that we see out there. This is from better emergence from that nutrient cycling, and that's why we like to make that BioReverse recommendation either post-harvest, as quick as you can behind that combine, or if you have to delay, we would like to see that on that early pre-plant side. We're going to move into the starter side now, and why use a starter. There's two things that always stand out for me personally. The one is the increased yield potential and the better crop production. So when I think of crop production, I'm thinking about dry down, test weight, kind of those quality issues that you're going to see in corn, or those quality improvements that you can work on in corn. The big bullet point here is going to be, the potential number of harvested kernels is going to be determined early in that growing season. So we always talk about rows around by our V5 growth stage, and we always talk about length by that V8. So our goal here with a starter is to give that crop the best chance in that early season. So starters are really going to be the base. And the placement of the placement of the phosphorus as close to the seed as possible will have a huge impact on emergence and on that early season growth, getting a nice healthy plant to that V5 and to that V8. And when we think about crop production, plants that get a good early season growth to them are going to tend to have better pollination later in the season and have better dry down. So when you start to take all those factors into place, having a starter program is really the base foundation and the best start that we can give that plant. Some key things to consider in your starter. The first one is going to be the form of phosphorus. The plant is going to take up phosphorus in the orthophosphate form. The higher ortho content, the faster that phosphorus is going to get into that plant, the quicker and better emergence is what we see out of that. The second one on that bullet point there is zinc. The addition of zinc, is really there to improve our root growth. And what we see in cold, wet conditions that we tend to see in the spring, that can really cause zinc from the soil to have really slow uptake. So placement of zinc with your row starter is really going to be key here. The third one is taking a look at our soil health with our biologicals, with like a biopass product. And these really help improve the soil biome. They help enhance uptake of nutrients and really increase the root mass of that crop. Our lead program here that we're going to talk about, that we're going to highlight, is going to be our season pass with microcarb, the addition of power pass and of biopass. And increased crop performance. We've had great success with our new biopass, with our new power pass technology. Two benefits that we've seen improvement on are really winter storage, but the bigger one that we see that has a really good return on investment has been that yield bump. Increased early season root growth and better emergence scores that we're seeing with power pass. The yield potential increase has really come from that early season growth, contributing to more rows around by that V5 that we talk about, and increased length by that V8. And then what we've seen on this product, very consistent. This is data from 2022. We've been able to walk and do some crop evaluations on our 2023 plots. But what we've seen out there is about an average of 5 bushels with the addition of power pass.
Thank you, Jeff. So now that we've talked about our starters and plant applications, I want to transition into the foliar applications. When it comes to the products that we talk about, it is important to note that everything can be piggybacked with other applications going across the field. Our goal is to not require additional trips, because that's not usually very feasible with the grower. You want to piggyback with an herbicide application or something else going across. So where we can add in is where we're going to have our best bang for our buck. At this early season growth stage, at that V2 to V4 growth stage, we really want to focus on improving the number of kernels around the ear. And we can impact that with these early season foliar applications. In some of our trials this year, as we've been walking the fields, we have seen with the early applications impacting the number of kernel ears around. And that's attributing to decreasing our stress early in the season and allowing that crop to really focus on what it needs to do, which is maximize our yield. A couple other things that we want to consider when we are looking at our early season growth is improving our canopy closure. We don't want to We want to influence our weed pressures the best that we can. If we are able to improve our canopy closure, we can shade out those weeds and make those less of an issue in our applications. We have this chart at the bottom of this slide. Here at the bottom, we just show the efficiency of our foliar feeding. So depending on your soil type, you can be from 6 to 20 times more efficient when you're applying nutrients in the foliar form versus in the soil applied form. The first product that we're going to talk about today is MicroBlitz. This is going to be more of a shotgun approach to our micronutrient management. So it has a little bit of everything that it needs, plus a bit of carbon for delivery. So MicroBlitz is 1185, and it also features a variety of our micronutrients. So boron, copper, iron, manganese, moly, and zinc. This is going to help reduce the limiting factors. So if any of these micronutrients are limiting, it's going to limit our overall crop, our yield potential. So managing our micronutrients is going to put us in a better position. Also, MicroBlitz is EDTA chelated. So it is a very stable formulation, which is great for a tank mix. Like I said, we want to piggyback onto other applications already going across the field. We do always recommend a jar test, but MicroBlitz has always proven to be very compatible. Within MicroBlitz, we have zinc and manganese. Both of these have very important functions in the plant in this early season. So our zinc is going to contribute to our leaf sizing. When we mention our improving canopy closure, if we can have larger leaves, we're going to have quicker canopy closure. We also are going to influence our solar panels on that crop. So larger leaf tissues, more sites for photosynthesis to occur, greater energy going into that plant. When it comes to manganese, we have a key role in our nitrogen efficiency. So those two go hand in hand, and being able to maximize our nitrogen applications by influencing our manganese is going to be put us in a much better position. Things that contribute to these deficiencies are cool, wet conditions, which are very common in early spring. So applying a foliar application, you'll help decrease the likelihood of a deficiency. A bit of our field performance. This is a trial from 2021 in Nebraska where we applied MicroBlitz at the V5. So earlier application, we had a 2.6 bushel per acre increase in corn. And that's because we were able to influence the micronutrients in that crop, decrease our limiting factors, and allow that crop to have a bit of a boost. The next product we are going to talk about is Phosphix. Phosphix is an incredibly dynamic product. It's a 749 analysis with trace micros. The key to this product is going to be the fact that it has plant growth regulators, which are cytokinins, gibberellins, and auxins. That's going to increase our overall plant health and increase our root, shoot growth, and lateral growth. It also includes a carbon source, which will enhance delivery. Plants recognize the carbon and bring it up into the plant a lot quicker. And then the third part of Phosphix is going to be our phosphite. So phosphite is not going to be a form of phosphorus. It's not a phosphorus fertilizer, but it's going to get into the crop a lot quicker, be very available, and then help increase our stress response because phosphite does have natural fungicidal properties and helps reduce that crop stress. As we head into the V5 growth stage and we're determining the number of kernel ears around, like I said, we want that plant to focus on doing that. So by eliminating and minimizing stress, that crop's able to focus its efforts and maximize our kernel ears around. Phosphix is a PFR proven product by Beck's. It has a 3-year positive return on investment in corn. So Beck's has found an average of 2.8 bushel per acre increase when applied at a 1 pint per acre at V4 growth stage. And then the next product to talk about is Sweet and Easy. This is going to be an additive product into the tank, so combining it with your other fertilizer applications to give a quick energy boost. So Sweet and Easy is a blend of 3 different sugar sources, and that's going to be a carbon source to the crop and help increase our energy. At the bottom of the slide, you'll see an analogy that we use frequently in regards to creating a fire. So you have your logs, which is going to be your base of the fire, the very long burning, sustaining part of that fire building process. And that's going to be, in regards to soil, will be your NPK and your soil health. Your base fertility is going to help carry that crop throughout the entire year. Then the next part of building your fire is going to be your sticks and kindling. I like to say that's our starter fertilizer. So it's absolutely necessary for building a fire, and it's going to give a moderately sustainable energy to that fire, but still be rather quick burning. And then finally, we have our paper. This is a very, very quick burning part of that fire. It's going to help set fire to the rest and then continue to burn very, very quickly, but give a lot of energy all at once. And that is our sweet and easy. It's going to give a lot of energy very quickly to that crop to help carry it through. That covers our early season growth stage applications. Up next, we have our VT to R3 applications on corn. These applications are going to focus on helping that crop carry through the end of the year, maximize our grain fill, and then overall improve our plant health into the end of the season. There are a lot of reasons why late season foliars are very important to our crop. Number one being stress mitigation at these critical growth stages. We want to ensure a healthier crop throughout the entirety of the season. If we have a healthier crop, it's going to be in a much better position to defend against environmental factors such as weather or disease or insects that are going to enter in the crop in the late season. We want that crop to be able to focus on filling the ear, so we want to have a healthier plant to defend against these environmental conditions. Also consider a late season nitrogen application, because as we head into that late season, we want that crop to have everything it needs to maximize that grain fill and fill out that ear. The crop's going to need an abundance of nitrogen heading into this season. We want that crop to not cannibalize on itself. Cannibalizing on itself will contribute to weaker stalks, potential lodging. So if we have enough nutrition for that crop to sustain, we'll have a much larger ear and a healthier plant. And then also we want to piggyback on our fungicide applications. So as I said earlier, piggybacking is going to be very important to help maximize our applications when we're already going across the field. Our recommendation at this time is going to be Overpass 2202. Part of our Overpass 2202 is boron. Heading into the reproductive stages, boron is going to be incredibly important. Boron is immobile in the plant, so it can't pull from its reserves. That is why we like to recommend spoon feeding throughout the season. Like I said, MicroBlitz already, that has boron. So if we can put a little bit of boron every time we go across the field, that crop's going to have what it needs for pollination and grain fill. Especially going into these late season. Overpass 2202 does include sulfur and a boron component. The 2202, that nitrogen is going to be 25% in the slow release form. So you're going to get 10 to 14 days of nitrogen feeding when you apply Overpass 2202. It's very safe for our leaf tissue applications. Another thing to consider with this is nitrogen is mobile and our sulfur and boron are immobile. So nitrogen and sulfur deficiencies are going to visually look very similar. You'll have the chlorotic leaves, but the big differentiating factor between these two is where they occur on the plant. So that sulfur deficiency is going to occur in the new leaf tissue. The nitrogen deficiency is going to show symptoms in the lower leaf tissue. So differentiating between those two and understanding what's going on in your crop is going to help you understand and how to mitigate what you're seeing. Some of our crop performance, Overpass 2202 in Ohio, really great performance, again, because we're getting that late season nitrogen, that sulfur, and that boron to help improve our pollination and our reproductive stages.
Good, thanks, Jessica. So we're going to roll into the soybean side. So 2024 nutrient planning on soybeans. Same thought process here, and it's really building that written program for your grower success in using the high yield programs. For you guys that are building programs out there, make sure you're including your seed selection, your fertility, your plant health recommendations on those, so that the grower can see how you're going to be successful moving forward. We're going to start in the same spot that we did with corn, and that's really with the residue management side, either on a post-harvest side or with that early pre-plant application. Again, this is going to be with our bioreverse. For you guys that have got some corn that's been combined, great opportunity to get out there with some residue management in a bioreverse this fall. Remember though that bioreverse can be applied in the spring with a burn down application. Great tank mix partner in there also if you're going to be doing any pre-emergence herbicide applications. Benefits that we see on the soybeans, the three top ones for me are going to be that better seed to soil contact, that better emergence, that better seed bed that we see out there when we have residue breakdown. The second one is going to be from that nutrient from the nutrient cycling side, where we're going to get a little bit of nitrogen from the organic matter breakdown. But maybe the bigger one that we see is going to be the potassium that we see late season that's available. When we have really good potassium late season, we have better plant health, we have improved test weight, and better grain quality. And the third one is really improving that soil biome, helping with nitrification so that soybeans can produce enough nitrogen for themselves during the growing season. When we take a look at our starter solutions or that in-furrow application, each year we conduct a lot of starter trials in our soybean studies, and we've seen a consistent yield and quality response with an in-furrow starter application. We see improved root growth early in the season. We know that contributes to better water movement, better nutrient movement up into the plant, especially as we start to progress from those vegetative growth stages to the reproductive growth stages. We see better nodules with the addition of a biopass LG and increased nodulation when we add a carbon source in, like a microcarb. A couple of the programs that we're gonna take a look at in that we'd like to recommend. Our lead is going to be our first pass. That is a 3-5-15 with the microcarb. That's a PFR proven product. And then Correct, which is our 3-0-20. That's all the potassium is going to be in an acetate form, and we really like to pair that one up with our Sweet and Easy as a tank mix partner in that starter application. The first pass with microcarb has been a PFR proven product for us. Remember, that's 3 years of testing with a positive return on investment. In Beck's conducted those trials. Oops. And then our first pass with microcarb, we really recommend the addition of the biopass LG in there. We see that expanded root system, we see better root growth, a lot more water movement up into that plant early season.
And then transitioning into the foliar season in soybeans. When we go into the field or on that V5 growth stage, similar to corn, we really want to focus on our overall crop health. A few reasons for this. Again, just like corn, we want to promote our canopy closure. Again, we want to reduce our weed pressure the best that we can. We also want to have an impact on the nodulation of our soybeans. We want that soybean crop to be able to fix as much nitrogen as possible to carry it through the season and promote our grain fill. When we increase the number of nodes, we're increasing the number of sites for flowers and pods on that crop. Again, increasing the potential for our yield potential. Again, similar to corn, we want to piggyback. We don't want to have additional trips across the field. So when we can add our products in the tank and increase the efficiency of what's going through the field, we're going to be in a better position. Pod retention, we want to maximize that yield potential, allow those to fill out and stay on that crop. And again, improve our overall plant health. So early in the season, the focus is going to be Phosphix, Microblitz, and Sweet and Easy. For Phosphix, we already talked about this slide, so I don't want to dwell on it too much to avoid being redundant. But when it comes to Phosphix, just remember we have the plant growth regulator, cytokinin, gibberellin, and auxin component, and that's going to help with our leaf sizing, root growth, and shoot growth. We have a carbon source for our delivery, and we also have that phosphite. So focusing on our stress response and improve our availability into the crop. Looking at our stress response visually, when you have a soybean crop and you're applying an herbicide that will burn, such as Flexstar, which is what this photo was applied with, you are going to promote our recovery. So I'm not going to sit and tell you that we are going to prevent any of that burn, but what I will say is that crop's going to come out of it a lot quicker. And we attribute that to the cytokinin component of phosphix, which is our lateral growth. It allows that crop to come out of that injury a lot quicker and improve our vegetative growth. We've also noticed when we apply phosphix with herbicides, a bit more effectiveness with the herbicides because that plant recognizes the components of phosphix and brings up that herbicide because that phosphix has an excellent delivery system. Again, we have MicroBlitz. This is the second time I've talked about it, so I don't want to dwell on it again. But our products are a great fit with multiple applications and multiple crops. So that's why MicroBlitz is a great fit for our soybean production as well. Boron is still going to play a pretty key role in our reproductive stages. The iron component is going to contribute to green up. Zinc, we have that leaf sizing component, and then manganese for nitrogen efficiency. So just like corn, this product's going to perform the same functions within the plant. And you just have to understand what your crop needs throughout the growing season to help maximize the efficiency of the products you're applying. MicroBlitz is PFR proven on soybeans. It's performed very, very well in the Beck's trials. This one was applied at the R1 growth stage. Our products are very flexible, like I said, really great at applying at multiple growth stages and having a great return on investment. Moving into late season, we want to focus that crop on pod fill and grain fill. So late season, again, we want to focus on that plant health. Moving into the R3 growth stage, that's when that crop is going to be determining its yield. So minimizing stress at that point so that crop can focus on that, going to put us in a better position. Again, like I said with corn, a healthy crop is going to be in a much better position to defend against environmental factors. Another consideration going into late season is going to be our nitrogen usage. Soybeans, through their nodules, are able to produce or are able to fix about 80% of the nitrogen needed. But that additional 20% is going to need to come from somewhere if we want to maximize our yield. Going into late season, those nodules also become very inactive, so they're no longer fixing nitrogen. We already know that a great nitrogen fixing nodule is going to look like a medium rare steak. When they become inactive, going into late season, they're going to be turning gray and no longer fixing nitrogen. So if we aren't having enough, then that crop will cannibalize on itself, which will produce a much weaker stalk and a less healthy plant into pod fill. Our recommendation at this time is going to be Overpass 10-10. Our Overpass product here is, again, 25% of the nitrogen is in the slow release form. So we are able to supplement nitrogen for a longer period of time, safe for foliar application. That boron component, just like in corn, is going to be very integral for our pollination, flowering, growth stages. So making sure those pods fill out and are pollinated to produce. So this nitrogen is going to help promote, help with that 20% that is required that's not already fixed by the nitrogen or by the nodules. So with that, we don't have any more slides. If you have any questions, feel free to talk to your territory manager for any clarification on anything we talked today for more information. And thank you.